order the Air Finance Committee meeting of August 29th at 7 p.m. And I want to thank everyone that's in attendance. There is a change to the agenda, quite a change as a matter of fact. Robert's not going to be here, Scott's not going to be here, and John O'Keefe from Shirley's not going to be here. So the meeting will be shorter.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Great, thank you.
Second.
Can they vote on it?
Oh,
Can we take a vote on it?
yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. The purpose of tonight's meeting is just a short discussion on the Ayer Shirley Regional High School District field proposal, and to bring everybody up to date on the issues associated with it as they are today. There's been a lot of learning in the last couple of weeks. First, let me say that the school district and the school committee have followed the statutes exactly. There is no question that they have complied completely with the statutes as they are written in concern to incur indebtedness. And the boards of selectmen in Shirley and Ayer are to set a date for the vote. And I don't know what that is. It hasn't been done yet to my knowledge. Dan, has it been done to your knowledge?
There was a
It's in that
discussion
email.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it still requires board of selectmen approval, but amongst the town administrators and the superintendent and the clerks, there was an agreement that it has to be approved by the board of selectmen.
Right.
October 6th, I believe it was. The email
October
that,
6th.
that Robert sent this
Special
afternoon.
election on the 6th.
I know that was one of the dates. It was the 29th or the 6th was requested. Okay.
Yeah, I think 29th wasn't within a 35-day election announcement window.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right. So there will be a vote, and we'll see what happens. Just to bring everybody up to date on it, those that you don't know, some of you do, the process is really quite simple. On the day the vote is held, it's held in both towns simultaneously for not less than 4, not more than 8 hours. The total number of votes in each town are added together, and if the yes votes add up to more, then it's approved. If the no votes add up to more, then it's not approved. It's that simple. Is that correct, Dan?
So that's to approve the school committee's borrowing.
Right.
Nothing to do with the debt exclusion funding.
Not a thing, no. Subsequent to a yes vote, then each town has to undertake a process to determine how it's going to fund its allocation of the debt. And I would imagine that'll be done at special town meetings, but again, I'm assuming that, I don't know for sure. As far as I understand, there's 3 funding mechanisms that have been identified, right? Lease, private, and debt exclusion?
That's the town's decision.
Yeah,
We
but those have been
borrow
offered.
and
Those were offered by the school committee as options. There may very well be more. But the finance committees will only become involved in the process at the time of the approval and the approval by the special town meetings. Then we will look at the funding mechanisms and make our comments and recommendations as they may be. Now, the Town of Shirley Finance Committee did put together an alternate proposal. They also wrote a letter to, I'm sure you've seen it, to Dr. Malone requesting a delay in the vote so that an alternative plan could be offered. I haven't heard the feedback on that, but I suspect that it was denied.
the school committee hasn't met yet.
Okay.
Next meeting's on Tuesday.
Okay. The Shirley Board of Selectmen on Monday night chose not to request a delay. And I can't speak for the Ayer Board of Selectmen, but I'd be surprised if they didn't do the same thing. So as it is right now, the process is going down the road. And that's kind of where it's at. Is there anything that's different than that that you know of, Dan?
No, you mentioned special town meetings. We should be on the regular fall town meeting.
Right. We just call it special.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 15th and Shirley 22nd. Yeah.
Right. I don't know why they call it special, but they do so.
Okay.
Because you can only have one annual meeting.
It is.
Oh, okay. Gary's just, Mr. Luca is a past selectman, and it's because you can only have one town meeting, so you have to have a special town meeting. Good to know.
Got it.
Good to know. Okay. Interesting. If anybody is interested in looking at General Law 71, or Chapter 71, Section 16, subset N, I have it here. If you care to read it, you're welcome to do so. And this is the copy of the page out of the Regional School District Agreement that identifies incurring debt. I didn't bring the whole book because it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But if anybody's interested in reviewing those things, here they are. And as I said, the school committee has absolutely followed the statutes as they're written. So I'm sure that was well thought out and well executed. So you have my applause for that.
Thank you.
So,
We were confused at times, but
well, yeah,
we figured it out, spoke to our attorney. made
we
sure did
were
things right.
confused as well. There was a lot of confusion as to what is it, when you guys voted it, what does it mean? And so Chris and I poked Robert and said, what does this mean? And Robert said, I don't know.
We found out.
So we went and found out, and sure enough, here it is, and you guys did it right on the nose.
Had to do it very often, right? Just the high school projects.
Right, right.
All right, so moving on with the agenda.
So, moving on with the agenda, there really isn't anything else on the agenda to do. Unless we can open up to the audience for questions or any discussion. Any discussion amongst the committee
On that topic, no.
on that topic? No. Okay?
Can I make a comment, Mr.
Yes, Dan.
So it's in draft form, right? Everything I read is my comments to this, and I'm having Jonathan and our athletic director review it. But the whole thing of, just for your knowledge, is that Shirley at FinCom proposed is based on a false premise. And that is that we can move baseball and softball on the high school campus. We cannot. We've had discussions with Mr. Thomas at Ayer, Mr. Began of Shirley. We actually came down and met with the Parks Board in Ayer. Mr. Began attended that meeting. And I have email written responses I'd be happy to share with you both from Mr. Thomas and Mr. Began after that meeting, where they went and kind of gave us detailed descriptions of the facilities that exist and how they might or might not work for high school baseball and softball. They both stated, in Ayer from Mr. Thomas, said we'd have to be off the field at 5:45. Mr. Began said 5:30 or 6 o'clock. High school games go past those times. Right? Baseball, as we know, doesn't have a time clock. It's a number of innings that can take who knows how long. I went to a game this spring up at the high school. It was an exception, right? But we have to be able to play the exceptional game. It was a high-scoring game against Brownfield. One player left to go to work delivering pizzas for Devon's Pizza because it was running so long. It didn't end until about 6:30.
Wow.
So we have to, the MIA would say, shut down your program if you can't complete games. And no team would want to play us if we can't guarantee we're going to complete a game. They do keep score. They do have standings. There are district birds based on record, right? This is just high school sports. So it's kind of a showstopper right there based on just the availability. The other issue is, surely we couldn't use those fields because the softball and baseball field, it wouldn't be big enough for varsity, share an outfield. Mr. Kendall went through this at the meeting we had a couple weeks ago, but just to reiterate, in high school baseball and softball, the varsity teams travel together, boys and girls, to an away game, and the JV teams from the other school then come to the other facility. They play simultaneously on a baseball diamond and a softball diamond. If the outfield is shared, they can't play a game when the kids are going to be running into each other and the ball's hit to the outfield. So scratch Shirley, Laura White fields off that. So now you're down at Peroni. And in the email from Mr. Thomas, he's documented how it's an inadequate sized baseball field. Softball field would work. With Peroni's Park softball field would work, other than the fact you'd have to possibly kick people off before the game was over. Baseball field, he is deemed too small based on his experience. If foul balls go to the neighboring houses, yards, it's really more of a under 15 AAU middle school type field in his opinion. He said he's had varsity games on there before. The left field with the fences, it goes to the park lot. It's very short for that level of baseball because more people don't park there. The routine fly balls end up in the parking lot. And the scores are in the teens, right? It's just way too small for a varsity program. So even if the time limits weren't an issue, Shirley's out, and they were down at Peroni in the baseball field there, by Mr. Thomas, based on his experience of having various age groups play down there, has stated, you wouldn't want to play high school baseball there, it's too small. So I don't see where we would possibly move baseball and softball to in the town unless something was new to be built. The night we met with the Ayer Parks Board, we asked specifically, are you looking at anything new in the fields perspective? Mr. Thomas said no. Our numbers for baseball and youth soccer are fairly stable. We don't need anything more than what we have. What they would like to see, if anything, is indoor space. For basketball and volleyball and other programs he's running, he could use another gym. He said we have no plan, no need for any outdoor fields. So the town of Ayer said there are no plans to build anything that we could use beyond what's there today.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we're not pursuing the Shirley's proposal
No,
at
we are
all
not.
anyway, so.
Nope.
I know you
Okay.
probably came ready for an argument, and I
The
apologize.
premise that you can do that kind of makes the rest of it moot, right?
Yeah.
No, and I think even if we did, it's not our privy to as a finance committee to instruct you guys of what to and not to do. Our job is to either yay or nay, and if somebody asks us the reasons why, the school committee charged a fields committee that came up with a plan similar to what we did when I was on the school building committee. The fields committee came up with their plan, the school committee approved it, that's the plan. We're not in any position to tell you how to build a field, that's not our job.
Nope.
So that's why, I was totally shocked with that, in other words.
I have no idea what the Shirley proposal was.
Just a skinny down version, taking out things here and there. But
We're not-
again, that's
we're
not what
just-
FinComs are here for,
we're
so.
not- Exactly, so.
I was given a copy of it by John O'Keefe, and I forwarded it to you guys as well as to Robert for him to distribute to the Board of Selectmen, just because I think transparency is a really good thing. No agreements, no
Some stuff
disagreements,
won't
just
make
here,
up.
I got this,
Okay.
now you know what's going on. So,
When was it?
I mailed it on Tuesday, I think?
Yeah, last week, it came last week.
No, it came this Tuesday, yesterday. Because I received it late Monday, and I emailed it Tuesday morning.
Oh, it's in my trash, that's why I didn't get
Can you
it.
just clarify again about this election? So in each town, and it's going to be in October, that's the tentative date right now?
9th.
6th.
Mary, can I ask Mr. Gleason from the school committee to respond to that? Because
Yes.
he is much more in the know
Absolutely.
in that than I am.
Absolutely.
Dan, would you mind addressing him?
No, and this is secondhand knowledge from Dr. Malone's meeting with the town clerks and the town manager here, the town minister Shirley. So I wasn't at the meeting, but she phoned me on her drive home last night and said they tentatively decided on the 6th of October.
Don't you agree?
It's a Saturday, because the chapter 7169 laws that Patrick referenced only allows a 4 to 8 hour window.
That's a Saturday.
And we figured if you do that during the day of the week, it doesn't really mean anybody vote, because most people will be at work
Right.
from say 8 to 4.
Okay.
So we thought a Saturday was a better option on what people have the option to
The email that Robert sent today relative to your meeting says that on October 6th is the
Yeah,
target
I
date
got that.
between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And that will precede both special town meetings. Shirley's is the 15th and ours is the 27th.
Yeah, so the school committee voted to do the borrowing, but the voters have a yay or nay say in whether they will allow us to borrow. So this
that's
is a
the
vote,
part.
this is an approval of our borrowing.
Okay.
Then the towns, assuming approval of that, then the towns going to need to be able to pay. At our last school committee meeting, when we adopted the language for this ballot, Mr. Quinty added an amendment which we all agreed to, which was we won't proceed without the towns having an approved vote at town meetings that they have a way to pay. So we're not going to just assess money over and there's been no debt exclusion to raise the funds to do it. So
Yeah, I mean-
we would not ever do that to move forward.
By statute, you could actually just go up to the levy limit if you don't get approval by the town.
Right.
But that's, I'm glad to see.
In our
that you
motion,
showed
we
that.
said we will not move forward even with voter approval for our borrowing without the towns having a vehicle to pay,
Good.
which we assume will be debt exclusion.
Yeah, well, let's, we'll
So-
see.
Dan, do you anticipate that would be on both towns' fall town meetings?
Yes. There should be an article in both town meetings, which would, again, assuming debt exclusion, that's a town decision. That would be articles on the town warrant. Two-thirds of raise and appropriate
Yep.
approval, as I understand it.
And your target is to break ground next spring, is that correct?
Yeah, we would move immediately to putting out an RFP for design services on October 23rd, hopefully, if it's approved. We plan to have it authored and ready to go. And a couple weeks in the market for people to review it, another week or so for people to respond, review those, pick somebody, and then that'll be the final design based on the master plan that we've been reviewing from our consultant. On a final design being ready, we then go RFP for construction services. Not quite sure when that would be, but we've been told we needed to get it up probably by January or February in order to hire somebody and have them break ground after June 7th, whatever graduation.
So would you put something in the RFP that said a not to exceed 7.1 million total? Okay, so that's how you're going to control the cost. Because Mary had made a comment earlier that the cost might go up between now and then, but you guys are going to control that through your...
Yeah, that's going to be the budget, and we're going to have to make tough choices if they're ever. Mr. Clark can tell you about tough choices that the school building committee had to make when.
Yep, we did many.
And Chris as well, that's right.
Did many.
Yep. So that's.
You know, I
Tariffs on aluminum caused the bleachers to jump astronomically. We're going to have to deal with that, right?
something needs to be done. Bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, right now, as the way I see it is, you know, there's been some discussion, and there's been some points that have been brought up about safety issues. They need to be addressed. Bottom line, if they're not addressed, it's going to come back to the property owner, and the property owner is the town of Ayer. So if these issues aren't addressed, then it's going to fall back on us, and you know, they need to be addressed.
Now, I understand there are no statistics relative to injuries that either town keeps. And I don't know if I'm surprised or not, but that seems kind of I mean, there's no doubt there's injuries. If you're going to play sports, you're going to have injuries. That's one goes with the other. But the question is, how much of the injury component is environmental, in other words, caused by the facility that the sport's being played on? And it should be zero. I mean, ideally, the environment should not contribute to athletic-based injuries. The injuries happen, but the environment shouldn't. And I appreciate that completely, and I know that's one of your motivations.
Yeah, it'd be hard to tell, right? I mean, if a kid tears an ACL playing football, was it the tackle? Did he plant and just turn the wrong way? Is that really the fault of the grass or the
Yep.
turf? I mean, how would you know? And yeah, unfortunately, but for whatever reason, past ADs, coaches have not collected data. I mean, so it's no fault of our own. Maybe it's going forward not a bad thing to try to do, to collect that data. But yeah, just historically, it never was collected, doesn't exist.
Which is curious, but
I don't think
not our
it gets
issue.
corrected.
And just, Mr. Quinty, how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Did the finance committee take any position on funding?
They took no position because there's nothing moving forward right now, but I'm sure that when it comes to Shirley Town meeting, then they would be looking to facilitate that.
Okay.
That's my opinion, but I feel very strongly that's what they will.
All right, thanks.
Prior to the town meetings, one of the things that we could do, should we choose to, is have a joint finance committee meeting with Ayer and Shirley to jointly discuss if we wanted to do that. We don't have to, there's nothing to prevent it.
Well, part of me says yes, part of me says Shirley's position is a lot different than his position is, and it really doesn't make a difference.
Okay, that's fine. I was a guest at the Shirley Finance Committee meeting at the request of an invitation to John O'Keefe, and it was very interesting, it was very spirited. Mr. Quinty was there. So I appreciate that. And I had reciprocated with John, but I spoke with him, and since things are the way they are, there's not really any point. So, if Dan, you have anything else?
It's just on the injury thing, it's kind of irrelevant to the finance committee discussion, but this discussion triggered a thought, which I think is a really good thing we could do. We haven't had an athletic trainer until last year. So I think the athletic trainer would be a great person to collect injury data and start logging and keep track of it going forward. So I think I'm going to make that request.
Good.
Can I just put you out on that?
Yes.
He may, Michelle Brady, committee as well, but he may be able to even give you some information about injuries he's seen in the past year. As he's worked with kids, I'm sure he's seen shin splints and he's seen, that kind of thing. He would have that kind of information. Might not know it's related to the facility, but he would know what he's treated the kids for.
We had our 2 field forums in the spring, one up at the high school, one over at Sherwood Middle School. Nate Diffin is his name. He did speak and talk to some of the injuries he's seen.
Yeah, you guys These two gentlemen were at both of those and mentioned that.
Yeah, so I don't know, this discussion I think is worthwhile, because I think that's a good output, is to ask Mr. Diffin to start
I think so too.
documenting injury data. It can't hurt to have some sense of what's been happening to
Nope.
the athletes.
Well, one thing you can tell is the efficacy of the work done on the athletic fields. If the number of injuries is reduced, even though we don't have any historical data, we'll certainly know by the amount of effort that the trainer has to spend remedying injuries. So I'm sure it'll be better. I'm sure it will. Okay. Are there any other comments? Discussion? Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Nope. Hey, one other thing.
Yes, Chris.
Mr. Diamond, at this time, I would offer you my resignation from the Ayer Finance Committee due to my recent appointments in the Neshoba Valley Regional School District and my commitment to my own job. I find it a hard time to commit my time to the Ayer Finance Committee. I want to thank you and the members of the Finance Committee for over the last 2 years working with you, Scott, and everybody else, and also the town of Ayer. I'm going to give you a copy of this, and I'll submit it to Tom Horrigan, the moderator, tonight.
Okay.
So once again, thank you very much.
Well,
Hate to
Chris?
put you in this position, but
We're
Thank
going to
you.
miss you. Your
Yeah.
contributions are very valuable.
Thank you very much. Can I make a motion now?
Please do.
Make a motion to adjourn? You can't answer because you resigned.
I resign. That's it, I'm done.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.